Okay, I'm going to quick cover some of the 2.4 just because I know Friday's such a short lesson. Notice again, the directions are writing equations. So I feel like after the quiz, it's all about writing equations. If you notice, the first two are almost exactly the same. Do you see how they give you the vertex and they give you a point? Do you see how the second two, they don't give you the vertex? So essentially when they give you the vertex, so if you know the vertex, then you want to use vertex form. Now, I already know this is my H and my K, but this is just a point on the graph. So like again, if you were to sketch this, you know, here's my vertex, this point would be like lower. So it means my parabola is probably opening down, but I don't know, other than I know that this is probably negative, I don't know if it's a stretch or shrink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug these into the formula, and then I'm going to calculate essentially the A value. So I'm going to plug in the 15, I'm going to plug in the X, I'm going to plug in the H, and I'm going to plug in the K. Now, order of operations does tell me to do this first, but I feel like if you do this, like that, then you might try to add these together. So what I would tell you to do is I would tell you to subtract your 35, so you get negative 20, then go ahead and square this, okay? So if you don't feel comfortable, again, you can just use your calculator, so like negative 50 squared. Now, again, instead of doing this, because that gets goofy, we use the commutative property, and you guys have all been through geometry, so we use the commutative property and we put the number first. Because if it's multiplication, we can switch the order. Then we'll just divide off this 2,500. And then that's my A value, which I already knew it was gonna be negative, so this makes sense. Okay, so now here's my final answer, okay? So my final answer is, my A value is negative 0.008. Then I know my vertex, so my vertex is 50 and 35. Sorry, I'm kind of at the edge of my paper. And then that's my answer, okay? So I'm gonna go kind of quick because I don't want this to be an extremely long video. So if you wanna watch this next one, or if you wanna skip to the following one, you can. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug my values into the formula up here. So I have Y, then I'm gonna do X minus my H squared, and then my K. So then I'm gonna move my 2 over, then I'm gonna work this out. So 2 squared is 4, so then this is 4A, so then A is just 2. So then if I take my final answer, I'm gonna take my A value, and then I'm gonna plug in my vertex. So X minus 2 squared minus 2, and then that's my final answer. So again, a lot of this chapter is like, what do they give you? Notice they're giving us the vertex and a point, where in the other lesson, if you noticed, they were giving us things like, you know, maybe the vertex and the directrix. So a lot of it just boils down to what do they give you? So when I look at this, if I were to graph these, negative 2, and then 4, 0, and then 2, 5. Well, how do I know if how do I know maybe the parabola looks like that? Or what if the parabola looks like this? Well, I guess it can't because it has to be on that. So it'd have to like go through this point, right? But do we know if this is the highest or maybe it comes on its downward? So what we do know though is we do know that these are the intercepts. Those are the intercepts. So if we use intercept form, which again, do you see how we keep switching between the forms? If we use intercept form, then we can calculate. Now, I'm thinking this thing is going down, but again, I don't know until I calculate it. So here's my P and my Q, and this is my X and my Y. So once again, I'm just gonna start plugging stuff in. So 5, and then I'm gonna plug in my X, then I'm gonna plug in my P, then I'm going to use my X again, and then I'm going to plug in my Q. So if I work this out, that's 4 times negative 2, so that's really a negative 8. Now again, I don't like this, because that looks like A minus 8. but it's really A times. So I'm going to switch the order because of the commutative property. So then if I divide by -8, notice that's kind of like my rocks and my shrink. So here's my final answer. -5/8, that's my A. Then I do x minus my P, and then x minus my Q. When somebody asks you for an equation, you need to have 2 variables. Not 3. You don't want 3 variables, not 4. You want 2. You want x and y. Okay? So again, I'll go kind of quick here. So here's my P, my Q, my x, my y. If I'm going too fast, always feel free that you can always pause this. So I'm plugging in my y, I'm plugging in my x minus my P, and I'm doing x minus my Q. So then that's going to be -9, and that's a -8. No, sorry, that's a -12. Whew, 9 times 12. I don't know that off the top of my head. 9 times 12. So that would be 27 equals 2 negatives would make a positive, so 108A. So then I would divide. So then 27 divided by 108. I have no idea what that is. Ooh, that's actually not too bad. 1/4. So we definitely know it's a vertical shrink, and we know it's opening up. So if we were to graph these, which that's pretty big, but if we were to graph these, you know, it's crossing at 7 and it's crossing at 10, and then -2, 7 and 10, and then -2, 27 would be like, what? Way over here? It's kind of a, oh, it would just be really wide. So then it must look something maybe like that. Because you see how wide that is way over there. Okay? But again, you don't need the graph. So you just need, hey, I got a vertical shrink, then it's crossing at 7, and it's crossing at 10. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop it here because I don't know like the upload of YouTube, so I'm going to make another video for the back page.